Rampaging around the corridors, making loads of noise. If anybody asks us, we're going nowhere, boys. What are you up to? Where are you going? That's what they want to know. We're going nowhere fast. We don't do nothing slow. Rampaging around the corridors, making loads of noise. If anybody asks us, we're going nowhere, boys. What are you up to? Where have you been? That's what they all want to know. We don't stop to answer them. We're always on the go. Rampaging around the corridors, making loads of noise. If anybody asks us, we're going nowhere, boys. When we get in classrooms, sometimes it's nice to sit. It makes a change from charging round, resting for a bit. Me, I'm thinking about break, feed me face, have a laugh. I just can't be doing this geography and maths. Rampaging around my brain cells, it's just a load of noise. If anybody asks us, we're going nowhere, boys. Teacher just said something, don't know what he said. My mate put his hand up. Right, after this, he's dead.
Boys going nowhere. They're getting a lot of attention nowadays as the attainment gap with girls stubbornly refuses to close.
Rampaging around the corridors, making loads of noise. If anybody asks us, we're going nowhere, boys.
With the help of Gary Wilson, an expert on raising boys' achievement, this two-part series looks in detail at the steps two schools are taking to help deal with this challenge.
We've got an issue across the country, but not just the country, across the entire developed world with boys' achievement. I believe that there are so many barriers to boys' learning. I've got it down to around about 30, which we need to consider when we're looking at the issues, because it's a massively complex one.
We know that girls innately prefer toys for form and colour, and you might say they never grow out of that, okay? Boys innately prefer toys for movement, ditto. Girls compete for resources when scarce. Boys compete for resources whether they're scarce or not. So you've got 5 boys in your classroom, 5 pencils, 1 boy will want all 5 pencils.
The Matthew Arnold School in Surrey has set up a programme focusing on overcoming the barriers Gary Wilson has identified with a specially selected cohort of 53 underachieving boys.
This programme works by us listening to you, us listening to what you do well at school and what you think you'd like some extra help with, from taking on board what you've said and trying to put things in place to help you. We've looked at some data on you. We've looked at the current attainment grades. We've looked at something called a motivation grades. 10 being extremely motivated, very interested in your subjects, very hardworking, very keen, very enthusiastic, and 1 being just a bit half asleep.
I'd like to be a physiotherapist, but obviously I need good English, maths and science GCSEs for that. So the breakthrough programme's helped me because I'm underachieving in all 3 of them, I think. I know I can do well, but it's if I put my head to it.
And this afternoon you're here because we're going to
The breakthrough model they're using is based on what's known as the PDSA change methodology, or plan, do, study and act.
We're going to come up with some things that we'd like to try to see if they're going to help you get better grades in school. We're going to try them, we're going to do them, we're going to study them, and we're going to decide whether it's something we want to take on further and whether it would benefit you for the rest of Year 11. The first one of these things that we're going to have a go at to see if it has a positive impact is the reward emails. All of your maths, English and science teachers, every lesson for the next 8 days, if you've had a good lesson and you've worked hard, will tick your name on a list, pass it to the office, and the office will email home straight away that day to say that you had a good maths, good English or good science lesson.
Each PDSA strategy is monitored to consider its effectiveness. If the study phase shows an idea to be successful, it is actioned. Conversely, strategies deemed impractical or ineffective are quickly dropped. We'll find out how well they get on with their pragmatic approach to the complex range of barriers to raising boys' achievement a little later on. At St Aloysius Boys' School in North London, an alternative strategy is in place called the Arsenal Double Club. Boys with low literacy levels are taken out of non-core subjects for 2 periods a week and given extra literacy or numeracy support within a designated St Aloysius classroom. The Double Club also uses a reward system to support learning.
I think boys do respond positively to a reward system. However, it does depend upon what the reward is. A certificate saying you've done particularly well will work for some boys, for others it won't. However, if you're saying to a boy, if you work well, you're getting a football session, you're getting some Arsenal memorabilia, an Arsenal poster or an Arsenal ticket, very few boys are going to turn around and say, you know, I'm not going to work hard. They're going to put everything in it that they can in order to get that reward.
Before they moved to the Emirates Stadium, when they were at Highbury, we would always play the Islington Camden football finals in Year 10 at Highbury. And more often than not, St Irish would find themselves in the final because it's a good sports school. Great to watch it. It must have been magnificent to play in it.
The Double Club initiative came about really through the popularity of football for education purposes, as well as trying to encourage young people to play football.
I think what makes the Double Club unique is that we use football as the motivational tool. So for 50 minutes the boys work extremely hard developing their literary skills or their numeracy skills, and then if they work well, behaviour is excellent, they are then rewarded with a football session. If they don't perform in the classroom, the football session is taken away from them. So it's the carrot and the stick situation.
When you're going to Double Club, yeah, you learn about football. Like, it involves football, the work involves football, then you concentrate more because, like, and one of the reasons as well, you try hard because after, there's like class ratings, and if you get lower than a 6, yeah, and then you don't do football, so everybody tries their hardest.
If you get 9, 8, 7, 10, you're very good. If you get 10, you get double football. If we didn't have Arsenal Double Club, I think it would be boring and normal. Because like in a lesson, you got nothing to look forward to except for play and then go back. But in Arsenal Double Club, you got, oh yes, we got Arsenal Double Club next, get to play football and learn.
Back at Matthew Arnold, Year 11 student Tom has been assessed to achieve A grades in 7 GCSE subjects, but is currently significantly underachieving against these targets.
If you do not understand the urgency that you have 5 weeks till you sit 7 hours of English exams, 7 hours of English exams.
I don't feel like I'm going to manage the grades I'm supposed to get. In a couple of them, I think I'm probably too far behind to actually catch up to the standard that I'm supposed to have got. And that is quite depressing, really. My art teacher especially has said, okay, don't worry about what you didn't do last year, worry about what you are going to do this year.
We want him to realise what he has to do now to, say in 10, 20 years' time, reach where he would like to be. And it's very difficult to communicate that to a 15-year-old boy.
Because he knows everything already.
All 15-year-old
they do,
boys
all
know
of them
everything.
know everything.
The whole Breakthrough group has shown some hopefully motivational case studies from the previous year's GCSE results.
He's called Bobby. These are his minimum targets, and this is what he turned them into. So he was predicted 4 Cs and 5 Ds, and he turned them into 5 Bs, 2 Cs and 2 Ds. So it's kind of up and down in some of his subjects. Some of them he did better in, some of them he didn't do quite as well as he wanted. But overall, he's made a really big improvement, particularly in these subjects here, these 4 subjects here, where he's taken them from minimum targets of Ds all the way up to Bs.
I cite, for example, as the first barrier to boys learning their lack of independence before they're even starting school. And I'm sorry that I very often have to point the finger at parents, you know. The number of boys that are standing arms akimbo, you know, at the end of the first few days while they're in school, waiting to have their coats put on. It's no good taking on board a group of boys in year 11, say, and suddenly starting to mentor them through the borderline. My preferred model for schools to work is to work cross-phase. We have to work with the whole boy throughout his whole experience if we're going to make a difference and make it stick.
I know if I did my potential, feel my potential the whole way through my school career, then I know I'd succeed. Now it's not too late, but I'm just making it hard for myself. Yeah, I didn't listen in past years.
One of the key barriers to fulfilling boys' potential, according to Gary Wilson, is to do with how teachers behave differently with girls and boys.
Is the way in which we talk to boys and girls different? Very much so, I believe. You know, that's lovely, dear. What are you doing? You know I talk to boys and girls differently. And I have to say that it's one of the main things that boys say to me, one of the main reasons why boys are doing less well in school, because they honestly believe that teachers prefer girls. They honestly believe that. Can you believe it?
What concerns me is not the exam results. It's that caring masculinity and the way in which, the nature of boyhood is becoming less and less attractive to us in society, I think.
You think about the kinds of things that you like about teaching boys. They'll be on that list, won't they? You like them because they're fun, they're upfront, they're honest, they're adventurous, they're sense of humour, they ask questions, they're energy, they have more weird and wonderful ideas, they're lively, they're enthusiasm. This is a list of post-it notes I collected. I did that exercise. I'm saving us time here. This is the list I always get when I ask teachers what they like about teaching girls. Well, they're eager to listen, they're neat and tidy, they want to please, they turn tasks, they're eager to learn, they'll sit and listen, they concentrate, they follow instructions, they listen, they always listen, they sit and listen, they're neat, they're tidy, they concentrate. And when I've done that exercise, my heart sinks for the girls, really, doesn't it? Because it's really quite a dull list. The fact of the matter is, you love boys. Show them that you do.
Danny Coyle, the deputy head at St Aloysius, is a keen advocate of taking direct action when boys start to underachieve.
It's important that a school does to children who are stuck on a certain level, who are stuck on level 3 and haven't yet moved up, is the sort of ethos and philosophy is intervention. We don't sit back, laissez-faire, and leave it to the devices of the children or the families, or even the classroom teachers. There has to be a more interventionist strategy. Arsenal Double Club is one aspect of that. We have other aspects that we do, the Saturday morning catch-up clubs, the after-school catch-up clubs. Children are taken out of modern languages, for example, if they are of a low English literacy level, to give them extra catch-up support in English. So there are various approaches, but the bottom line is it's interventionist.
When Nick doesn't go to school, I get a call from St Aloysius. It's automated. And basically, if you don't answer the automated call first, it'll keep calling you all day. And it sometimes calls me up to 8 o'clock at night until I give them an answer and tell them why he hasn't been in school.
Because sometimes it's hard to get up in the morning. And if you were up the night before late doing work and stuff, it might be hard for you. I go to bed about 10 o'clock and I sit in here, watch a movie and fall asleep.
Lack of parental understandings of issues related to boys' achievement. Of course there are. The parents who are there at the gates of the school taking the fast food orders. The parents who think it's more appropriate to sit in front of the telly and have your tea on your knee instead of sitting around the table.
With his schoolwork and that, I think as long as he finishes it, he's quite happy. He doesn't want to make 100%, and I'm just quite happy for him to go along as long as he does what he's supposed to do. When he's supposed to do it, then I'm fine with that. I know that he's not like Brain of Britain.
St Aloysius, an inner-city school, has its own range of socio-economic and cultural barriers to boys' achievement.
We have 35-36% of children here who are on the free school meals register, for example, and that only is one indicator of levels of poverty. A lot of parents have negative experience of education themselves, so the attitude of homework wouldn't have such a high profile as it might in other homes. A lot of our boys are up very, very late when they should be in bed. A lot of that we have to tackle on a daily basis. And then there's the problems of the real tragedies that exist in many, many homes, and the stories that you hear in this school that children suffer from are genuine, heartbreaking circumstances of children who suffer from abuse, from neglect, and we have to deal with that as well on a day-to-day basis.
7, 8. You can't count. That's not my school.
The Breakfast Club has been with us about 2 years. It's difficult because we could invite hundreds of people, but obviously we haven't got the facilities. We target the children who we know don't get a breakfast at home. So when we know that a child, for example, is getting dropped off at school at 7:30, he's in the Breakfast Club. Or when we know that there's no one at home who either cares or has the ability to look after them, that kid's in the Breakfast Club.
We've got a little Scrabble team behind us here at the moment, which are very competitive, and that's a mixed group of boys there, a mixed group of ages as well. They've also got the newspapers, and we do have some debates most morning. If there's anything that's really popular in the news, we often have discussions and get the boys' views on what they think. These boys were in trouble, so therefore they were starting the day off poor, they were going into their lessons late, they were sluggish, they were untidy. ready, they didn't have their equipment. This has all come together now, and they're actually much, much happier children. Every child matters, regarding you're a looked after child or that you've got a stable home environment. It doesn't matter in here. They all interact very, very well. We have a head of year who actually she will pay for some of our children here. If she feels that they're vulnerable children, she's actually gone out and paid out of her school year fund just so that this child gets a breakfast every morning.
I know from research that if you've not had breakfast, for example, by 10:30, you've got the reaction speed of a 70-year-old. Now, that's quite frightening. If that boy that we might be thinking about at that time has access to a sugary bar and a fizzy drink, then suddenly we've got a sugary explosion. We've got problems with behaviour apart from anything else. But I'll frequently ask large groups of boys, I was talking to a group of Year 11s just the other day, 120 of them, how many of you didn't bother having breakfast this morning? It was 80% of them. It seems to be a boy thing. And I'm desperate to get messages to parents to say, look, this is a very, very significant issue here. Just as it is in school where we're running breakfast clubs in order to help and we're keeping them hydrated. They need to understand why we're doing that.
If I don't eat something at first break, my mind's usually feeling a bit kind of cloudy and can't really focus on anything properly by the time it's about fourth lesson, which usually makes me get something out of my bag to eat then, and then I end up getting in trouble from my teacher from eating in class. And I try and explain, but they never buy it.
As part of the PDSA approach, the Matthew Arnold team review the Reward Email Initiative.
So this is each boy's name with how many emails they actually received in the cycle. Now there were a maximum of 18 lessons that they could have had, 18 lessons during the 8-day cycle. Okay, so you can see how many they got, just pass them around.
Despite helping to improve motivation grades, it's decided that the scheme is too complex to administrate.
That's interesting.
The team decide to withdraw the email rewards in favour of a more conventional letter being sent directly to parents. They go on to reflect on which of the many barriers to boys' achievement they should be looking to tackle next.
Lack of parental understanding of issues related to boys' underachievement.
I think that's an issue.
Yeah. I think it's quite.
My son won't revise, but I don't know what to do with him differently.
Yeah.
Intervention occurs too late.
Yeah.
I'd say about 4 for that.
It's with a lot of cases, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it affects most of our children. I think we do have intervention there. So I'd say with some of our children, intervention occurs too late.
The jury is still out on whether intervention has arrived too late for Tom, who has his own views on why he needed it in the first place.
A lot of the teacher's time, effort goes towards helping the kids who aren't doing as well. Quite a lot of the other people are still working, and I ask for something new. It's, oh, wait a minute, wait for everybody else to catch up. But it's always wait for everybody else to catch up. I can never just keep going. Teachers should have something in their lesson plan for a bit extra for if you've finished.
I think coursework generally, the larger the proportion of coursework in the subject, possibly the less boy suitable it is.
Is that a 4?
Yeah.
Is there research that says that boys are better at exams than coursework?
Yeah.
So.
No, not better than girls though.
Right.
They do better on exams
They do better
than they do on
themselves compared to
coursework.
themselves.
But they're not better than girls on exams.
Oh right, okay.
Girls are more organised. They're more creative, generally. Most of the girls I know just get home and get on with their coursework, whereas I get home and just kind of think, oh, I'll do it in an hour once I've watched a bit of TV, and then I sit there and watch TV for 2 hours and then eat my dinner and don't do the coursework.
Mismatch of teaching and learning styles to conform boys' preferred ways of working.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good one.
Yeah.
I think it is as well.
Yeah.
Strong barrier.
Yeah.
Gender biased resources.
I think that's improving.
Yeah.
But still has a way to go, but I think it is a definite improvement, especially from an English perspective.
Okay.
There's more involving tasks available. It's not textbook based anymore, is it?
So there has been an improvement.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Inappropriate seating arrangements.
You must see, you walk around the school. Are there lessons where you walk in where there are groups of boys sitting together?
I would say that where there are problems, seating arrangements is always at a contributing factor, and it's got to be a 4 or 5.
It's a boy-heavy school, though,
probably a 4 it might be.
A boy-heavy school, there's more boys than girls, so sometimes it's difficult not to sit them.
And in subjects maybe like technology, there might be more boys than girls in there, and they're not in rows, they're in clusters, so they're going to have to sit with people that it's not always best for them.
If I was a teacher, I'd give people a chance to like sit where they want, and if I knew they were naughty, I'd try and separate them from my friends, but not so they're sitting next to people they dislike, or they're not sitting next to anyone, but not so they're sitting next to people who distract them.
How about anti-swap culture, the peer pressure?
That's a big one. But not as bad as our school, if I've seen it at other schools.
I agree.
It's probably not for everybody, I think it's not high.
I think my teachers feel that I'm not doing as well as I am because of people that I hang about with, and because of their thoughts of school.
He's a very caring and a very intelligent child, but gets easily distracted and needs to make sure that he focuses 100% on what he's doing. And that is the problem with Lewis, that he doesn't concentrate enough on what he's doing.
I call the boys that are actually running schools the peer police, and some of them have started off as peer police cadets in the nursery classroom, where they've been patrolling the boundaries of gender-approved behaviour around the dressing up box. You know, you can't wear this, you can't wear that. They'll start off, some of these boys, wanting perhaps to please their teacher in the primary school, but by the time they get to the end of the primary school, they just want to please their mates. And the point about the peer police is, as I say, when they get to year 10 and 11, they're very often running the school because they're handing out licenses for other boys to do things. It's not just a question of, you know, they're saying, it's not cool to stick your hand up, it's not cool to do your homework. They're actually giving out licenses to other boys, allowing them to be involved with art, with music, with drama, with singing, you name it. They're very powerful. But I believe that there is an answer. These boys are natural-born leaders. That's what singles them out. If we can only stop them from dragging a whole cohort of boys off a cliff and instead get them so that they're dragging a cohort of boys up a mountain, by fine-tuning those leadership skills in a positive way, giving them significant responsibilities, putting them in charge of mediation schemes, for example, helping the school to eradicate bullying, link them up with younger children and present them as a positive male role model and do it in that way. I believe we can make a big difference in schools.
Stereotypical perceptions of extracurricular activities. 85% of our boys play football, about 5% of them read.
You're trying to give us the answer.
I think it comes quite a lot down to the whole sports agenda. The biggest thing from talking to the boys that were involved in our cohort of Year 11 boys, 80% of them played football and were involved in the sports team. And about 90% of them watched football and watched it on TV. And I don't think that when you watch a football game, you turn around and go to the opposing team and go, never mind, hard luck, lads. I don't think it works that way. And I don't think culture and society as a whole lets boys know that it's okay not to come first. It's the taking part that counts. And we talk about winners. We don't commiserate with people that have tried hard.
You know, someone scores a goal and someone else lets in a goal. And why you should be sort of celebrating and how you celebrate, I think, is to me is a serious issue.
The thing about boys and sport is that it's a massively important area. If, for example, a male PE department in a high school is promoting this tough male macho stereotype, then they're doing a lot of boys a lot of harm. Those boys who can't live up to that stereotype, you know, who are falling by the wayside. Boyhood and sport, we have to get it right. One of the problems with football at the moment is that young men and boys are seeing some pretty nasty stuff. There are some good role models in football, of course, but lots and lots that aren't.
when I was younger, my role model was my dad. I think with a lot of the boys, their role model is actually Thierry Henry. So they look at Thierry Henry, and whatever Thierry Henry does, that is what they want to do.
Footballers don't necessarily ask to be role models. You know, they're out there because they've got talents in their boots, you might say. The focus and the spotlight on football is so intense at the moment. Everything is caught on camera.
I believe that every boy can achieve something. I think every boy has a skill in one subject area. It may not be English, it may not be maths, but they may be skillful in PE or in art. I think the problem with boys of a lower ability is they don't believe that they can achieve, and they're often being told that they can't achieve. And I think that has a massive impact on them, in particular their self-confidence and their self-esteem. If you're constantly being told by your parents at home, maybe by your teacher, you're not going to achieve because you keep misbehaving, they start believing that.
But that's what my teacher wants.
In part 2, we see Tom and his dad struggling with a study plan.
What your teacher wants you to do is to be in a position where you've finished your... Thomas!
He's already told us he's taking us back.
Thomas!
After we've done the book to do
Thomas!
the questionnaire.
The whole idea is to work towards the final product.
What the whole idea is.
I don't care what your teacher says.
We all got that. Let's have a look.
We look at how low literacy levels might be tackled with football material, and how preferred learning styles and mentoring can develop self-esteem and support increased achievement.
Have you explored how you need to do that?
Yeah.
So you know your path?
Yeah, I know.